From the grid structure of Bomberg's In the Hold to the grid system of American artist Chuck Close. And in this instance, it's his self-portrait from 2001. The link's as simple as that, but what an artist and what a body of work. And I chose this one because it has huge emotional resonance for me. In 2001, I went with someone very dear to me to the west coast of America for the first time. Oh, what a magical trip. Route 1, Vegas, San Francisco. God, I fell in love with that city at first footstep. And up with hangovers and jet lag, we went to the top of the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, where you walk down and around the floors like you're on a helter-skelter. But to start with, you have to go over a little bridge called the Oculus Bridge. It's right at the top of the building, and I had to crawl over it, sweating alcohol, crippled with vertigo. But this Chuck Close picture was waiting on the other side. It's massive, it's 9 foot high, and we were just in awe of it, and each other. 10 years later, we were looking a little rocky, and her new suitor took her to see a Chuck Close exhibition in the East End of London. I couldn't compete with that. I never saw her again. Why am I oversharing? Because standing in front of a full-scale Chuck Close is a significant wonder of the world. You will always remember doing so, and it is proof that it makes for a superb exhibition for a first date or a fledgling romance. Everyone can appreciate Chuck Close. Firstly, he calls himself Chuck. You'll never meet a Chuck you don't like. Secondly, he is an incredible draftsman, so you just marvel at the skill required to create such lifelike portraits, especially when they're 10 feet tall. And thirdly, because you get value for money. These works are marvellous at a distance, but when you get up close, you're getting hundreds of tiny little paintings that make up the whole. It's just mind-blowing. Each one's so full of colour and joy, so that even what appears to be a grey surface is in fact full of beautiful little rings of purples, blues, yellows. And those people showing off will say the background is the negative space, but Close makes it an integral part of his portraits. He puts as much effort into that as he does to the face itself. Close got the idea for this approach from his granny. He used to watch her fascinated while she'd crochet big tablecloths. He'd say she was making a big complicated image out of a lot of little tiny incremental units, which is precisely what I'm doing. I suppose it's a bit like the halftone process of dots in an old newspaper photo that makes the image when you give it a bit of distance. And step back from a Chuck Close and the image is unmistakable. At times it's like you're looking at it through a thick glass, like a pub ashtray or rippling water. Now Close always begins with a photograph of his subject, and then he constructs the paintings through a grid system where each square on the canvas corresponds with a squared off cell on the reference photograph. But however he's doing it, his work is about the human face, because Close suffers from face blindness, where it's difficult for him to recognise faces. And this is a major reason why he's fascinated with painting them, because once the face is laid flat, it becomes easier for him to remember. Hence his work is often of his family and of his friends. But prosopagnosia isn't the only challenge that life has thrown at Chuck Close. He's dyslexic, his father died when he was 3, and he was estranged for years from his mum before her death. And in 1988, a blood clot in his spine collapsed an artery, leaving him paralysed and wheelchair bound. And once he got movement back in his arms, he started working again with the help of a customised wrist brace that holds his brush. This painting some 12 years after what he refers to as the event. And today his strength is deteriorating, but Close uses his mouth to shove the brush into a brush holder attached to his right wrist. He then guides that with his left hand. He can't stand, so he uses a mechanical system to move the painting up and down the walls. Assistants will help him mix paint and stretch canvases, but Close will still make every paint stroke himself. So most of all, his paintings are triumphs, not only of talent and skill, but of the human spirit and determination. They're monuments to ordinary people, created with tremendous affection and joy. So I'll say it again. If you fancy someone, take them to wherever you can to see a Chuck Close, and you will never look back. And if you like what you've seen, clear an hour and get to Close's own website, which has a timeline of his whole career in high-res images. And there's virtually no words on the site. He just lets the pictures do the talking. Quite right too. So I'm going to shut up as well. Nice one, Chuck.